Hey everyone, this is Samantha and I'm coming to you with a book review on a book that deserves all the recognition but isn't necessarily being talked about on BookTube. Now, I heard about this book from Literary Diversions, and I'll make sure to link her video talking about it below. It really made me reconsider not reading nonfiction for this specific book. This is definitely one of the exceptions. I'm so glad that my library had it so I could pick it up. And that book is Belonging by Nora Krug. This is a book that was actually on one of the 2018 Best Books of the Year list, and I'll make sure to link that below as well. I saw that on one of my Goodreads groups. When I saw this book was on there, and after watched Literary Diversions talk about it, I knew I had to pick it up. One of the things about this book that I really enjoy is that it's talked about with images. It's definitely got that graphic novel slash scrapbook feel to it, which is definitely a format that I really enjoy reading. Now, this book is about Nora's life, learning about her family history. She is a German, but she was born after the Second World War, decades later, and she moves to America and finds that she's not comfortable in her identity as a German based off of the stereotypes that are placed on Germans even to this day, which is a conversation I wasn't anticipating necessarily with this book, but I was very pleased to be aware of it, because we are also aware of the stereotypes based on race or based on sexual orientation, but I don't think any of us have actually consciously thought about how we stereotype Germans based off of World War II. You know, we always make jokes about Hitler, or we have these stereotypes that Germans are very rigid. It was refreshing to read a point of view where those stereotypes are seen as negative. She's trying to come into terms with accepting her identity as being German, and she knows that a part of this journey is going to have to be involved in looking back in her family history, which goes back to her grandparents and even a little bit of the after effects in her own parents, and learning about her genealogy and the role that her family members had in World War II. She doesn't necessarily always find the answer she's looking for. This was a heartbreaker for sure, because you want so badly for her to get the answers that she wants. You want her to learn about her family being heroes and hiding the Jews and actively fighting against the Nazi regime, even if it's, you know, underground or in public. You so badly want her to find that information, and she kind of finds a little, but most of it is not. And it's her coming to grips with that, and also putting it in a different light as to these people were actually human beings too, and trying to put things into a light to not have the stereotype be the forefront. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this book is that she would take one page every once in a while and talk about something that is a big part of celebrating yourself as being a German. And she would basically just list the facts or talk about how it's traditionally used in German culture. She specifically picks out these items because it was used in negative propaganda. And so it's kind of her way of neutralizing what was used, recognizing that this is a part of her German culture and that she can think of these things fondly without having to belittle herself for celebrating in these things. And specifically, it's this mushroom. It is something that is actually really enjoyed in German culture. They cook it a lot. In recipes and whatnot. But she uses this chapter, and this is like actual photo images of writings by her uncle. So it's nice to have actual photos of her family, which makes it all the more real. In regards to the mushrooms, propaganda had used the mushrooms as a way to identify Jews as being the poisonous mushroom, or to be seen as a mushroom that should be neutralized and killed out. But based on that picture that I just showed you, though, mushrooms were actually a big part of like a harvesting season, and you may have seen it in the picture, but this is actually her grandmother who had dressed up as that mushroom. If you can kind of see the comparison there with the big skirt, and then I don't know if you can see it, but it's polka dots. There's actual documents in here too. I found this really helpful, is on the front and back covers. This is already like, this is a library book. It actually has her family tree, and it has images of the individuals in her family. Every once in a while, there's either a caricature drawing like this one, or there's the faces blurred out. And I'm sure that the faces are blurred out because those people are still alive and don't want their picture in the book. And that just goes to show you how there's still that stigmatization, even though World War II happened decades ago, and even though they're currently living, they still don't want to be associated with it. This side, I can't open this up, and I don't want to rip the tape, but it's the other side of the family. So this is the author's mother's side, and this is the author's father's side. So it was really nice to have that. I was definitely referencing that throughout my reading. Overall, I think it's just a really important book to read. It only took me a couple of hours to read. It's important to be aware how we use jokes. It has been so stigmatizing for this author to identify as having a German culture that she actually actively covers up her German accent. That is heartbreaking, that she can't even talk in her normal voice. She has to consciously cover it up in order for people to not make comments or look at her a certain way. Definitely pick this up if you can. I am so fortunate to be able to use the Los Angeles Public Library, and that's where I got this book. If you go to your local library and they don't have this, please, 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 please ask your librarian to go get a copy of it. It's definitely worth it. Definitely worth sharing the story. Overall, I gave this book 5 stars. I mean, if you couldn't tell, definitely worth the read. I almost dropped the book. So that's it that I have for you for this video. I hope you have a good day, and see you later.